So the height adjustable desk is, I think everybody's going to have a height adjustable desk now. The price has come down. I think that's really going to be a thing. I think we haven't figured out what the office is going to be of the future. There's really a big shift. I think a lot of companies are doing really well without an office. And I think there's going to be companies that's going to stay. That's going to be a thing. But when you come to, what I also think is that the office is an important place for culture and to get together and to look each other in the eye. That's so nice, and that's irreplaceable.
The water's fine, homie, jump into the deep end. Sow it, you will reap it. We talking how to start it, how to grow it, how to keep it. Take a deep breath. You are now rocking with Founder Secrets.
Start. Marc, welcome.
Welcome.
So nice to be here with you guys.
Yeah, Marc and I have known each other a long time. You're a furniture maven, we'll say. You've been in the furniture business a very, very long time.
Yeah.
As longer than I think Flaviu or I have been alive.
Not combined, though.
Yeah, your family was in the furniture business, right? You grew up with it. So how did that work, and why did you decide to keep going with it?
My grandfather's name was Nathan Dallek, and the story goes that he sold used office furniture in New York City in 1920. I don't know if 1920 is for real, but I like to say before World War II. He had an uncle who sold business machines, so that's like adding machines before they had calculators. And my grandfather sold office furniture used, and my uncle sold used business equipment. And
which one did better?
it was Uncle Ruby. The story goes that he was like a womanizer and a gambler. Grandmother never really liked him, so I don't really know too much about him, but he probably had a lot more
We
fun.
don't talk about Bruno.
Uncle Ruby. Uncle Ruby, but yeah. So I always grew up in this world, and my dad died when he was very young. He was in his 50s. And I didn't really want to be a burden on my mother, and I wanted to come into the family business. And I didn't really think about much else. And I worked the minute I graduated high school. I started working. Sometimes I regret it, but I've been doing it a long time, Taylor. Yeah.
And so you were part of the family business for a while, is that right?
Yeah, so this family business that was started by my grandfather, the name of the company was called Dallek Office Furniture, and it imploded in 2008 when that last recession happened, and that was a very traumatic time for me personally and for the family in general. And I was in business with two older brothers that are 15 and 17 years my senior. We were together for about 20 years. And then the recession happened, and we had different alignment, and that's when my transition happened. And that's really when I say my entrepreneurial journey began in 2008.
And that's because you ended up buying OFH. That was in 2014?
Yeah,
right?
that's 2014.
So wait, what happened to how did the recession, which we were alive for that one, and we're alive for this one now too. So trying to
this one is
gain some insight here.
Yeah.
It was a real estate recession from what I remember, but then it started going on forever. So I'm wondering, how did that affect furniture?
Taylor and I talk a lot, and you guys are in this new business and very exciting new business. But what I do is very stable and very basic. It's a commodity. My business follows what goes on in real estate and what's going on in the economy. So if the economy is growing, people need office furniture, they're hiring people. I've learned some lessons from this, but essentially in 2008, the economy was tanking. What happened to the family business was that I had one brother who was the managing partner of the company, and he was not able to adjust his lifestyle to when the business tightened up and consolidated. And there were other underlying issues with the management of the company. So now on my entrepreneurial journey, I really know deep inside how important it is to run a business. And that's why I love EO, and I love what I've learned at EO, and love what I've learned from EOers. And that's why I run my company on EOS traction, because it's not rocket science, but it's a system. It's a business system. And when we had the family business, we had no system. We don't need no stinking systems. We needed money. We pulled money out of the company. And we ran it like a candy store. It's embarrassing now. And we had some good years. It works really well when the money's coming in. But when the money stops, when the music stops, it got ugly fast. And we weren't prepared as business owners. luckily, we made some really smart decisions along the way. Actually, my brothers did before I got there. We owned a warehouse, and this is like a very common thing. And we talk about this with some of my forum mates, and when you own a bricks and mortar and in the business tanks, that the building is worth something. So we had this building in Long Island City that was worth a lot of money. It was worth a lot more than the business, and that really saved us. Even though we filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which was the craziest thing, and it was really because we couldn't make a decision as business owners. We ended up paying all the debtors 100 cents on the dollar. And you never hear that. You usually go bankrupt because you want to take all the money and run, but we ended up selling this property and paying everybody back. But I learned so many lessons, and now that was 2008, 2009. A lot of time, a lot of water has passed under the bridge, and I've gained a lot of wisdom from that. It was not, at the time, boy, that was hard. But now that I've survived, actually, I feel empowered.
Real quick, can you explain what EOS traction is for those of them that out there don't know what it is?
Gino Wickman wrote a book called Traction, and it's a business methodology about how it stands for, entrepreneurial operating system. And there's 6 basic tenets of how you run your company, and nothing is rocket science. Nothing is really earth-shattering. It's just a very basic system of how to run a company. And it's really meant for entrepreneurial companies, for companies that are not necessarily fast growth, but just need to be run usually with a visionary that's typically, or the integrator is typically the founder and that sort of thing.
Good. And then, so in 08, 09, kind of through this process, took a step back from that last business.
Right.
What was your mindset? Because in this for a long time, it sounds like it was very traumatic. Was the mindset, I want to jump back in it and try this again? Or what was your mindset at that time?
That's a great question, Taylor. What was on my mind is what was my 4 children that were in private school in New York City, and that my ex-wife, who I was pretty recently divorced from, needed to get paid $7,500 on the first of every month. That was on my mind, and I needed. And the divorce, the arrangement that I made, for better or for worse, was that I had a responsibility for paying for school, full school, and this payment to my ex-wife, and I had to make that money. So I went to zero. When I say zero, 401k, retirement accounts. Nothing, zero. And I had to make a living and to pay those bills. And where I am today is I never missed any of those payments. And there was a time when we were filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, when the shit was really hitting the fan. The accountant came to me, it was a trusted advisor, and he said, "Mark, do you want to stay and do this, or you want to try something different?" And the choice I made was to stay with my brother Neil at the time, one of my 2 brothers. And I wasn't even, in hindsight, I realized that the accountant was saying, "Mark, maybe you should reconsider. Maybe you should think about something." But I was like, this is what I know. This is all that I know. And I'm like, I got to pay those bills. And I could do this. I could pay those bills. And that's what I did. Now, where I am now, and with EO, my friends from EO, and I have I'm thinking a little bit more carefully and a little bit more slowly. But then I wasn't really thinking. I was thinking $7,500 the first of the month, those tuition bills. I can't even remember how much they were. Kids got to go to school. They got to live a nice life. And that's what I was thinking about, definitely.
So what did that mean, staying with Neil? You mean in that same business or a new?
We had the 3 brothers together in the Dallek Office Furniture. We filed for Chapter 11 around September of 2008 or 2009. I can't remember the year, but I remember it was September because it was around the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. It was a big day, and that was the day that we filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And the first of the year, Neil and I decided to go into business together. And we called the business D2. So you had Dallek, and then we had D2.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, and the other thing that I thought of was that my nephew, my brother Neil, has a son, Hugh, and he's 9 years younger than me. And that was my idea to bring Hugh into the business. So I had this great situation with my family business, and it imploded. And then I said, let's bring in more family. Good thinking, right? So we were in business together. for about a year and a half, and I said, this is just not right. I got to be out on my own. And what was empowering, though, is that we had this structure, this crazy structure from before, but I was the one who was the leader in setting up the structure in this D2 business. And unfortunately, my nephew really wasn't able to handle it. And so then after a year and a half, I said, I'm out on my own. And I went out on my own. And that was August 11th, 2011. Not that I forget that date at all. And that was the date I went out on my own. And basically, I had a bicycle and a laptop and was selling furniture.
The same bicycle you have now?
No, that's 3 or 4 bikes ago. They've been stolen. Yeah. No. And then I was out selling furniture. I'll tell you a little secret. In my business, you get a 50% deposit. So basically, I was living off of the 50% deposit that I got from the clients. And what happened in the family business is that music. So there was a time when we had to deliver. So that's what I was doing in 2011. And really, I was doing that until I can catch up. And now that I'm running my business, the customer deposits are elsewhere. And now that I have a business system and business methodology, I'm running it differently. And that was so different than the way we used to run the business before.
Do you think that, I know a lot of businesses that operate on customer deposits in that way that I think, in my experience, also operate in that kind of living off of the cash flow. Yeah. Do you think that's just an open secret in your industry, maybe in others?
I think it happens, and I did it for many years, but I'll tell you, I sleep really well now, really well, and that's the way. So I'm part of EMP, Entrepreneurial Masters Program, which is one of the special programs that we have as part of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. If your listeners don't know about that, EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, is just an awesome group, and I'm such a believer, and it's really made such a change for me. 200 members in New York, worldwide organization, a place where we find our tribe, we find our people that we know, and that's where I know you guys from. And so EMP is really what I've found is the best of the best. So there's about 70 people from around the world, literally. And so we go there, we go to Boston one weekend a year, and I get to watch how other people are running. We get to listen to a lot of great speakers and get to know a lot of other business people that are similar to us, trying to make a buck, trying to do it right, have some fun. And I'm competitive, and I want to be on that level. The other thing is I'm one of the oldest guys there. I'm probably the oldest guy in my group. That also gives me a little spark and a little fire. So
is the same business you started with the bicycle the same one you're running now?
We had Dallek. We need a whiteboard here. So we had Dallek and D2.
Sounds like a rapper.
Okay, now wait, this is even better. So I named my company when I went out.
D3.
No, 3D. So close.
Brilliant.
So close.
Well, that's confusing.
Yeah. Okay. So then I'm trading off of that. And what I realized is, and I talk about this, is that it doesn't matter what the name of the company is. It really doesn't matter. So I had that name. So what I think what's even worse than this is that I bought a company, and the company's name is Office Furniture Heaven. I hate that name.
Luckily you can change it.
Yeah, you own the place.
So when I bought it outright from the former owner, and he was so attached to the name, and he was like, I was going to name the business Square Foot Office Furniture. I spent a lot of money on the website and branding and all this stuff, and I thought Square Foot Office Furniture, and he hated the name, basically because he couldn't get rid of his baby. You know what I said? Okay. He was like, I was dependent on him. I thought he brought in sales and stuff. So I trade on the name OF. And like I said, it doesn't really matter. So now I'm running my business called OFH, Office Furniture Heaven. And so when I acquired the company, there was about 4 or 5 people, and now we're up to about 25 people.
Nice.
And yeah.
Let me ask you, so 3D, you were selling office furniture as well.
Same.
And how did you go about getting any customers? You just bike to a new office and say, hey guys, do you need any furniture?
Old school. I'm old school. Networking, commercial real estate brokers, interior designers, networking meetings, press the flesh out there.
How did you compete with other companies?
All me. All service. Crazy service.
Can you give an example? What does that look like?
Mark, I need some office furniture. Okay, I'll be right over. Get on my bike. I'm in Midtown. Get on my bike. Go and charm them. and a lot of knowledge. I've made a lot of mistakes over the years, and I've learned a lot from my mistakes. I've also delivered a lot of really beautiful offices, and I take a lot of, it's more than just selling a product for me. I met Mike Bloomberg on the street in one summer, and he's, hey, I think I bought my first chair from, no, he didn't say I think, and it was fact. He bought his chair when he came to New York from the family business. So we've been doing a lot of, and I have a lot of satisfied clients, and I actually love what I do. I have a design degree. The truth is, at this point, I like what I'm doing, but I'm really more into the business than I am into the office furniture. But I really like designing offices, creating spaces. I react well to spaces. I think people react well to spaces. And
what's funny about the same, sorry to interrupt,
No.
about this time that you were doing this, it's also about the time that WeWork was starting to become popular in New York.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, what do you think of that way of designing office spaces?
So having been doing this for 40 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the way the office works. And I used to get nervous. I remember like when people came out with a beautiful catalog, and I was like, oh, this is going to change the whole world. Literally, I remember when I saw this beautiful 30, 40-page catalog. There's Europeans that came in, and this is the way they sell it in Europe. And the internet. And then WeWork. I feel good about slow and steady and service and taking care of clients, but WeWork, it's a threat. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to change the office? We try to sell things to WeWork, but they're buying direct and really cutting it. They don't really need me, and I know my clients who need our service. At first, you see it as a threat. I don't get anxious. I see what my niche is, and right now, my office is in a WeWork. So I'm in a WeWork. Should we cut that out?
You bring your own like chairs and tables?
Yeah, I did. I did. Some people walk around and they say, "Oh, your office looks nice," but still, it's a WeWork. But it's only temporary. Yeah.
All right. So then you kept growing this. Keep going one by one. You were the salesperson. You were doing everything.
Yeah.
Why do you need a deposit? So when you buy a piece of furniture, do you have to pay 50% up front and then the other 50% when you get the actual furniture?
Yeah, that's the way we do it.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Don't try to change that. It's good. It's a good system. Actually, now we even get more now. So yeah.
because of supply chain issues, or
Yeah,
what?
exactly. Supply chain issues. Exactly. You're smart, Flaviu.
Did you warehouse furniture, or were you getting it at some point? Has that process changed over time?
Yeah, so in the old school, we used to run our own warehouse, own our own warehouse, run our own trucks. And then when we changed to D2, we definitely got rid of the warehouse, and we use vendors to do the delivery and installation. And luckily, we have nice relationships with them, and that's an important relationship to have, and we have a variety of them. And then when we were in the family business, we used to do a lot of importing and stocking furniture, and we were buying from Italy in the lira. That's how long ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
and that was a
It'd
lot.
be like millions of lira.
Yeah, like millions of
$100.
lira. Exactly. And it was a lot of fun, and the spread. And anyway, so then that was that. But then when I went out on my own, I wanted to go to China. So there was about 8 years or so that I was going to China and buying product inventory from China. And I got out of that before all the big tariffs came in. But really now the way I run my business is very agile. We only buy product for an order. And that's why we need a deposit, because some of the vendors that we deal with require deposits, but not all of them. But we do we use that cash flow, and which is the nature in our industry. And we buy product for the clients, and we consolidate it in one of our warehouses, and then we deliver it when the client needs it. That's what we do.
So then if you had this business that was growing incrementally, where did it go from? Why did it feel like you have to buy another business in the same space?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that I'm, like, where I am now, I'm still thinking about, because I've learned, I feel pretty good that I can feed my family by doing it on my own. And I'm a safe bet, I think. As long as I'm healthy, I'm a safe bet. 40 years, guys been doing it, had the shit knocked out of them. And I think this has to do with EMP. I think this has to do with EO. I think this has to do with the challenge of life. I want to build a well-run company that doesn't just revolve around me. That's where I'm at right now. And that's what's really exciting. And to run a company where people like to work, where people feel good about what they're doing. And certainly the clients feel good about the products they're receiving and the service they're receiving. And it's not just me. I have a team of people that will do it, and that they get off on it too. And it's a little risky, but I think I'm okay with a little risk. We're okay with it. We like a little risk, right? I think that's the spice of life, and that's my challenge, and that's part of my EMP challenge. I want to say to my EMP guys, this is what I'm doing. And also, I read an article, my daughter Lauren sent me this article that's in the Sunday Times, I don't know if it's this Sunday or last Sunday, about triathloning, and I've been doing triathlons for 20 plus years. And why swim, bike, and run, and the challenge, and the prep, and why? Because it's there, and it's fun, and it's a charge. That's my challenge now. And I'm up.
Do you think that there's something in backup? So if someone's a good furniture salesperson, they can make a really good living and have less stress and no responsibility, and they don't have to worry about all the things you just said, tariffs and cash flow and offices. They don't have to manage employees. They don't do any of that. They can make a great living, not have to work weekends probably, and hop around jobs maybe. And why do you think, one, some people look at that and say, that's cool, but I want to take on all this stress and all this burden, and especially in an industry like yours, to where they could make a great living as the salesperson?
Yeah. I don't know why. I know people like that, and I've tried to get them to work for me, or to try to even get them to be partners with me, and I think we're built a certain way. Why do some people, are they just content with the way they are, and they live a perfectly happy life? And I think sometimes I envy those. I don't know, envy, but I think that seems like a nice lot. For a reason, that's not my lot. And the challenge is what I am looking at you guys, and I know you guys are cut from the same cloth, and that's also what I love about EO, because that's where we live. It's like, if you want to just take a nice job, and that's good. I think that's great. That's good. I don't. It's not for me. I don't know.
But you chose to. I guess I'm wondering, why did you choose to buy the office furniture heaven guy?
I was like, now I feel like I'm a little bit calmer. But at the time, I remember that pressure with the 7,500, and it's like growth, and I needed to grow. And I was like, okay, this guy's got a business. Like at the time, I was doing like $1.5 million, maybe 2, and he's doing 3-4 million, and I got a sweetheart deal. I'm like, okay, I can make a company from 3 to 5, and I got this. And I was just looking for growth, and even now I'm chasing growth. But what I've also learned. It's not the top line. It's, what is it? Revenue is vanity, and what is it? Profit is sanity. Whatever that is. I forget. Yeah, revenue, sanity, whatever. But we care about what I'm taking home. So I'm trying to grow the company, and also focusing on what the bottom line is.
What wisdom would you pass along to a young entrepreneur who's just starting out in their journey, and they hear some of your story around traumatic entrepreneurial personal experiences tied to the business? What kind of wisdom would you pass along, or what advice would you give to them?
The thing that I think about a lot now is these curveballs, these difficult times that I was dealt, those build character. And try to, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it 20 years ago. But what I know now, and when I mentor people and I speak to them, is that this is part of the journey, and try as best we can to enjoy that journey and the people you're with. And now I know that some of the things that I do, I savor so deeply.
Like what?
My relationships with my children. We just delivered, I had a meeting today, and I was with a project manager, a level 10 meeting, and we delivered to Florida $1.4 million worth of furniture, and it was completed. And we had, in our world, this thing called a punch list, which is the things that you need to do. There's like 4 punch list items. And the guy who's the project manager is really good. He was like, okay, let's go to the next thing. I'm saying, wait, let's take a moment and realize what we've done here and try to savor that, not move on to the next thing. Yeah, that appreciation, and also, look, if I could think things through a little bit, to be able to have that calm. But it's so easy for me to say to some young kid, you should be calm. You can't do that. I couldn't do that. There's no way I could do that. But savoring it, I could do that now. I can savor it. Yeah.
Speaking of, so would you ever bring your kids into the business?
Yeah, good questions. I am so proud of my children. Each one of them is doing well on their own. So I have my daughter, Julie, so I have 5 kids and 4 adult kids from the first marriage, and one child is going to be 9 very soon. Julie is an interior designer, so she could. And this is the thing that I've learned is that I didn't think about doing something on my own. I rushed to go into the family business, and that was a mistake. I should have. And I have some friends acquaintances really, that are kids, people that I grew up with, and they had good family businesses, but they went out on their own. And I think that would have been, if somebody was to give me good advice. And I didn't encourage my children to come into the business. I encouraged them to get good education and do well on their own, and they are doing beautifully. And right now, I'm running the business so that hopefully I could sell it one day or keep it. But I don't really, there's a lot of family drama. It's traumatic about, I don't really have much to do with my brothers, and it was really hard. I think the relationships that I have with my children and they have with each other is much more important than, especially if they can do it on their own.
So it sounds like you wouldn't really want to have them take over the business.
Under the right circumstances, I think it would be wonderful. It would be a dream, but I'd be really cautious. That one would be one I want to think through really carefully. Yeah. So,
do you look at certain family businesses, maybe friends of yours or colleagues, and you think, how in the world did you all do that so well?
Yeah, of course. You know what? Look, grass looks always greener on the other side. So how could you not? We live in New York City, and we're around all these really smart people and these really good businesses, and a lot of people that are much younger than me. I try every day to be really happy with what I have, to be content with what I have. That's, I think that's good. I'm happy with that. I'm happy for those who have. I'm sad for those who don't, and hopefully I could do more to help those who don't have, and in whatever little way I can, but to be happy with what I have.
How has furniture, like the design changed? It used to be there were all cubicles everywhere, then they went to, I don't know, corporate, like half cubicles, then you have now this, seems like open space design. Where are things heading?
So the height adjustable desk is, I think everybody's going to have a height adjustable desk now. The prices come down. I think that's really going to be a thing. I think we haven't figured out what the office is going to be of the future. There's really a big shift. I think a lot of companies are doing really well without an office. And I think there's going to be companies that's going to stay. That's going to be a thing. But when you come to, what I also think is that the office is an important place for culture and to get together and to look each other in the eye. That's so nice, and that's irreplaceable. We'll have offices that are comfortable and spaces for people to get together. And also, I believe we'll be comfortable with people working at home or working remotely, and a place for people to be comfortable working in the office. Certain companies are fine with the big open space, and there's a need for more silent space, quiet space. It's always changing. I'm a designer at heart, and I think that good design makes a difference for people in their lives. I believe that, and as we change, we're humans, we're good at change, and the needs that we have we'll adapt, and the office will adapt for that, and there'll be more variety. It's really interesting. If you're a landlord in New York City and you own land, there's a big shift going on now. But we don't have to worry about the landlords. They'll be fine.
Last people I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them. What kind of things, when you walk into somebody's office and you're like, if they just change these simple things that, they're high ROI kind of things that one could do in maybe a home office or in their office themselves. Do you have any kind of like high ROI tips that deliver great value?
Keeping things neat and clean, being in a neat space. I think a lot of people, they just go to this. Sometimes I go to offices and I'm like, there's boxes everywhere. There's shit all over the place. Just keeping it neat it makes a big difference. And it has nothing to do with selling office furniture. Maybe you buy a cabinet or something, but really, it's basically throw the shit out. I think that's number one. That's number one. So just keeping it neat and clean and simple, that always speaks to me. And also to have things around you that you like to look at. I know I have some pictures and things that just bring me joy. Again, nothing to do with office furniture. And really, it's about function. I think the furniture needs to be functional for you. I like clean, functional design, and I'm not really into. I have clients that spend a lot of money and want really all this stuff, but that's not really my style. It's just a nice, functional environment, lit to be able to have natural light, and keeping it neat and clean. I think that makes all the difference. You could have some desk that you got hand me down or you found in the street from your friend and brings you joy. That'll be good.
Do you have a neat desk or just like messy kind of?
I have a messy desk. I do.
After recommending everybody be neat and clean.
Yeah, I know. I do have a messy desk. It's the truth.
Would you know the studies that means you're more creative, that it puts you in a creative state to have a messy desk?
I'm always running. I love to come home to a neat house. I love to come into a desk, but I'm not there yet. I will get there. Taylor's going to watch me.
I'll watch you. While you've been a business owner a long time, but your primary role has been a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of sales tips or techniques or things that you've picked up in the sales side over the years?
Oh, man, Taylor. Building rapport is so important and being genuine. Right now, our team is going through Sandler sales training. I'm always learning. I love learning, so I'm going through all these techniques. Look, be genuine, care. You got to reach out. You can't wait for people to come to you. You got to be proactive in whatever way you're comfortable, whether it's LinkedIn or cold calling or networking events. And
how do you build rapport? What are some examples that you found most effective to build rapport with
we look people in the eye, right? And I ask questions. I make sure to be very curious about who I'm with and know that. And I actually genuinely am curious about the people who I'm with. So that makes a difference. So if I know what motivates them.
But how do you know? So say it's a new person. You can ask questions about the weather and the family. That doesn't really lead to business, and then now you're 30 minutes into a meeting and all you talked about is kids and family and weather. And that got you build a little rapport, but it doesn't necessarily get you closer to a sale.
All right.
What do you think?
So we have to know our target market. If we're talking about business, we have to know who's going to be our buyer. So we have to do a lot of work and understand who is the buyer for what we're selling. And right now, I'm like a laser. I'm not just shooting shots all over the place. Who's going to be my buyer? So right now, I know I sell furniture to companies with fewer than 300 employees, and I want to deal with the decision maker, somebody high up there. So if I want to have a friend who's not a decision maker or who's a creative person, that's great, but that's not a business person. So I'm going to make sure I know who I need to talk to and understand that deeply. And then I want to meet those people, and I want to run my business and be attracted to have all the things that are necessary that'll be attractive for those.
So when you meet those people, how do you build rapport? Or you're saying you would invest half an hour into shooting the breeze with them because it's a worthwhile investment, or how would you transition to business?
So I meet somebody off the street and they're a target.
Right.
So I like to offer my services and offer my expertise. And I'm very, I think, generous with that. Let me come by and let me see how I could help you out. And also, I'm in the long game. I'm not in the short game. Maybe I'll help, maybe I'll do something and help them out today and there's no need. But in time, over time, they'll tell a friend or they'll know somebody, and that's how I do it. And that feels right for me. It feels good. So that's how I do it.
What about over phone or internet? Or do you try to make sure you're always in person with these targets?
We're doing a lot of Zoom now. So I would like to look people in the eye, even if it's not face to face. I find email is okay, but I'm always trying to get to a deeper level. I don't really do any cold calling. I still like to invest quite a fair amount on my website so people feel comfortable to see what we're all about. I'm better in face-to-face, hand-to-hand combat. I'm better at that.
One final question is, you mentioned you have 5 kids, you have a very complex business, you do a lot of these roles. How do you manage all this time so you don't go crazy and also get things done?
What are some tips for other people wanting to manage their time?
I'm a student of that. I'm still working that out. One thing that I think I've gotten very good at is wherever I am in that moment. I'm here with you guys, and I'm really here with you guys. And I just came back from 3 or 4 meetings, and I was in those meetings too. And I can't do 2 things at once. I cannot. But I could do one thing really well. So I can't look at my phone now, but I could be with you guys. Wherever I am, I try to be there and really be there as deep as I possibly can. That's a pro tip, I think. So managing my calendar is really hard. I have an assistant with me, and I'm trying to get better at it. And now I have on my Outlook all color codes for different things, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. And this is my forum mates have really helped me with this, is to understand what my priorities are. And so family is a priority for me, and my synagogue is a priority for me. So being able to set aside the time and devote the time, and look, I don't always get it right, but that's trying to take a step back and say, where do I want to spend my time? Where is it valuable for me to spend my time? So try that.
I love it.
It's the best I could do.
Perfect close.
We want to thank you for spending your time with us.
And being fully present.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Marc.
Thank you.
Thank you for rocking with the homies. Taylor, Trusty, and Flaviu. Seize the day, own it. Until next time, hold it down, hold it down.